Let's go! Time for a Thursday edition of the show. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app. Thank you, Chad Erickson, for the kind introduction. Busy 3 hours ahead like it is every night. We're watching Thursday Night Football, trying not to fall asleep while we watch it. There's a theme developing when it comes to Lamar Jackson that I want to get to in this hour of the show from having watched this game. We'll get into that some. NFL trade deadline is around the corner. More dealing done on Thursday, and there could still be more to come. We'll do the NFL live betting thing like we do. We always give you one live betting winner every night. Tonight we're going to try to double that. We're going to try to give you two live betting winners tonight on the show. Matt Mayoko will join us coming up about 33 minutes from now. NBC Sports Bay Area. He covers the 49ers. He's covered them for, how about 25 plus years? I've been talking to him forever, so it doesn't make, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Matt Mayoko, one of the best in the business. We'll talk with him coming up about 33 minutes from now. Get some thoughts with him on the 49ers going into a huge game this week against the Rams. I said last night on the show that I thought LeBron James would ask for a trade. I thought it was a really strong possibility that he would ask for a trade and ask out of Los Angeles before the trade deadline if the Lakers keep going in the wrong direction. There are signs that I might be right. We'll do our NBA live betting game of the night. One baseball pundit is out of her mind. We'll preview the World Series tonight. Give you a betting prediction on that. Wow, we got a lot of betting predictions tonight. 2 live betting picks and a pick on the World Series. I've got a heart bet and I've got a head bet. Our producer engineer on the show tonight, Brian McDonald, probably knows where I'm going when I say that. Yeah, see, you've got a good guess. I know you do. There's a gambling controversy in the world of NBA 2K. Have you seen this? We'll get to that at some point tonight during the show. So a whole cornucopia of cool to get into. The cash-in with me, Jason Page, continues on SportsMap Radio. Gave me a 15 and a 5. What is this, amateur hour? What happened at 20 and 10? Jesus. A 5. What am I going to do with 5 seconds? Wet myself? Oy vey. It's all right. It's better than last night. Belmer, coming back from the break, decides to play. And now, more of the diehards with Anthony Pepe. I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh, yeah. I gave him so much hell for it. It was great. Like, come on, Belmer. You're better than that. And then I was like, but are you? Are you really? What'd you say? Turn down the thing when you're talking to me so I could hear you. Elmer's good. He's usually on point. I was talking to one of my old colleagues today from my NBC Sports Radio days. His name is Sean Guastamacchia. I chatted him up. I hadn't talked to him in a few years. Decided to hit him up, say hello. He used to work for Sports Grid, like before the pandemic and before they blew up and became what they are now. Yeah, I guess pretty much they are pretty much all gambling, aren't they? Yeah. Yeah. There's a price war. Pretty much. I already did. We roll along on this Thursday edition of the Cash In, SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. Producer engineer Brian McDonald pushing all the buttons back in Houston for this 3-hour masterpiece. 10-10 as they play in the middle of the third quarter. The Buccaneers just punting the football away. They got an early touchdown in this game and nothing else. After losing the ball on a muffed punt, they were able to score. The Ravens got 3 early on a muffed punt by the Buccaneers. They could take a 3-0 lead. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers came down the field, scored a touchdown. They were up 7-3, and other than a field goal, they've got nothing else. Tom Brady looked good in the first half, and by good, I mean efficient. Nothing big downfield. It just continues to be a very plodding sort of offense. There are not a lot of big explosive plays coming from this Tampa Bay offense. And like I said last night on the show, we have to stop respecting them simply because they have a future Hall of Famer at quarterback. It's the same situation in Green Bay with the Packers. You have to stop with the traditional thinking in terms of trying to figure out what these teams are. They're bad teams with Hall of Fame quarterbacks. That's what they are. They're bad teams with Hall of Fame quarterbacks. A little more. And who knows? That kind of ties into what we're opening the show with, and that's the trade deadline. And, what kind of moves potentially do the Buccaneers make? What kind of moves potentially do the Packers make? And there's a lot of guys that could still be dealt between now and next Tuesday? The phone number to be a part of the show is 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can tweet at us at the back page. Again, hit me up on Twitter at the back page with anything that catches your attention as we go throughout the show. Matt Mayoko will join us coming up in 25 minutes. NBC Sports Bay Area, get some thoughts with him on the Niners, who already made one of the big deals, if not the big deal of this trade deadline. You notice I'm wearing a hoodie today, by the way? You like this? I'm going full slob for the show for our video audience tonight, who could be watching on Twitch, Jason Page 77, on YouTube, the Decibel 88 page, Facebook Decibel 88 page, or on Twitter at the back page. I've gone full slob today. Did I take a shower? Yeah, I think I did. All the days kind of blend together for me. And you know what? You can't smell me through the radio or the video stream. So it wouldn't matter if I did. I could be lying. Smell-o-vision. Fair enough. But yeah, I just decided to wear the hoodie today in honor of Bill Belichick because I watched his entire press conference today. And I'd play some of it back for you, but there's really not much to play because it's Bill Belichick and it's, KGB stuff. Talking in code, saying very little, making you sort of read in between the lines. And the one thing I came away with from Belichick today is, yes, Mac Jones is going to be the starter this week against the Jets. The other thing I came away with is he is not guaranteeing that Mac Jones will be the starter past this week. If you listen to him today, he made it very clear that all he's talking about for Mac Jones being fully active this week and fully available is for this week. And every time the media tried to corner him, find a creative way to ask the question, he came back with the same thing. This week. Just this week. So, again, in terms of how you're going to run your franchise, in terms of how you're going to manage your personnel, it's, again, this questionable decision from Bill Belichick. Now, look, maybe behind the scenes he's told Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi and Brian Hoyer, who I guess is still there, even if it's just in spirit. Maybe he's told them something more than what he's telling the media. And if that's the case, that's all that really matters. But I don't get the sense that that's the case when you've listened to the comments in the postgame the other night. Mac Jones talking about how he was kind of surprised he came out. Bailey Zappi talking about the fact that he didn't know when he was going to be coming into the game, just that he might be coming in the game. All of this cloak and dagger from Belichick. I think it's actually something that's going on behind the scenes as well. And I don't know how, if you are Mac Jones, you are supposed to go out and give your best effort, not knowing if you're actually the starting quarterback for this team, or if basically this is another audition for you. And you got to remember something with Mac Jones. We all look at him and like to think about the way he carries himself, and he's a veteran and this and this. The guy has only played, 20 games in his NFL career? And yes, he is older because he went through the entire grind of the collegiate career and wasn't, coming out early or anything like that. But when you look at Mac Jones, you have to remember he's only been in this league for 5 minutes, relatively speaking. And the way Belichick is handling him gives me a sense he doesn't really know how to do it. He doesn't really know how to handle this sort of situation. And again, keep in mind, he's never really had to. He walked into New England and basically walked into Tom Brady and had that for his entire career. Then it was Cam Newton. And Matt Castle before that. There wasn't really having to groom and mentor and shepherd a young quarterback who's supposed to be the future of your franchise based on where you drafted him. You'd think that was the plan. So I don't know if he knows how to nurture Mac Jones the way you have to. And for all you can talk about him being the GOAT and the greatest coach of all time and all of these things that may very well be true, his handling of Mac Jones is showing that he has a bit of a blind spot. He has a weakness. And it's how to handle these sorts of players. Because he's never had to do it. We're talking about the entire 2000s. He's never had to really do this. And now he's in that position, and it's not going very well. The Bengals had to make a big move today. Jamar Chase is out 4 to 6 weeks with a hip injury. They might have to put him on IR, which means he's out automatically for 4 weeks. That's more of a paperwork thing. But now, with the trade deadline fast approaching, and this isn't a Bengals team that we're talking about as, an also-ran. This is a team that was in the Super Bowl last year. It's a team that last week put up huge numbers, and losing a guy like Jamar Chase, as good as he has been, the long ball threat that he has been, you have to wonder where the Bengals go to try and make up for that sort of production. There ain't many guys out there that can do what he does. One guy that may wind up being available, interestingly enough, and there's only been speculation around this, nobody's really heard anything concrete, could be a Patriot. If the Patriots lose this weekend to the Jets, and then it looks like essentially, your season is in the toilet. Remember, this is already a Patriots team. It's hard to fathom. But it's already a Patriots team that's in last place in the AFC East through 7 weeks of the NFL season. And they're already 3 games behind the Bills. And if they lose to the Jets, they will be 3 games behind the Jets at basically the midway point of the NFL season. So now you start thinking, are they dealers at the deadline? Could Nelson Aguilar be on the move? It's a possibility. They've got a couple of veteran guys that they could part ways with and try to build up some draft capital if you figure out that this year is a lost cause. Could Aguilar be on the move? Possibly. Because, and the other option for a team like the Bengals is obviously somebody we talked about last night with Nick Ferguson from Touchdown Denver podcast and a former NFL safety. We talked about Jerry Jeudy and whether or not Jerry Jeudy could wind up being on the move. And that's obviously a possibility if things go badly for the Broncos this week. This is such a big weekend in terms of what could potentially be available for just about a 48-hour window because, you have Sunday's games, then I think the trade deadline, if I'm not mistaken, Brian, it's next Tuesday, right? Is the trade deadline? Right, so that's Tuesday because Halloween's Monday. Get your costumes ready. I'm thinking you're going to have about a 48-hour window if you're an NFL team after Sunday to decide, all right, we're halfway through the season. Is it a lost cause? Teams like Cleveland with a Kareem Hunt may have to make that decision. I mean, there's several guys out there that could be available and could enhance one of these also rans that are sort of in the middle of the pack that sure could be a wild card team because there's all but about 4 or 5 teams are potentially a wild card team at this point with the kind of parity and mediocrity that we see around the league. It's going to be a feeding frenzy at the deadline potentially based on what we see on Sunday. We'll run through some of the names for you coming up in just a couple of minutes. The phone number is 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. What would you like to see your team do at the deadline? 800-224-2004. And again, hit me up on Twitter at the back page. We do live betting in the next segment every hour at 25 minutes past. We give you some live betting, some choices for you. We'll do that for the Thursday night football game, run through some of those trade deadline names as well as we continue. On the Cash In, I'm Jason Page at SportsMap Radio. They had another touchdown. Wow. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that he was hurt with the shoulder. Wow. It's a huge win for the Ravens. All their losses have been teams coming from behind on them, and now it's them actually playing from behind. That's a big win for them. Yeah. Sure, why not? Bomb, 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 Baran. Hey, is Jerry Lee Lewis still alive? Or is TMZ ruled him dead and then said he came back to life? Oh, my God. Can you imagine having to be the person that clicks, publish on that? Oh, my God. They said they had one anonymous source. That's the problem is most media outlets won't go without 2 sources. They went with 1. And especially if it's a death story, though. Like, you gotta have 2 for a death story, don't you? That's what I'm saying. Da-do. Wow, did this really happen? Elon Musk took control of Twitter an hour ago and immediately fired the CEO and CFO. Can you imagine? No, everybody else did. Wow. Jesus. Trump's going to be back on Twitter in like a couple of days. You watch. Brian McDonald, you tree-hugging liberal. Mega de toes. 1-800-224-2004. Conversation carrying over from the break into the show. Ain't that professional? It's why you got to watch the video feed too. Like when we go away for a few minutes and commercials are playing. Not that I don't want you to listen to the commercials, but there's sometimes a pretty entertaining back and forth going on the video feed. Then again, people can't hear your side of the video of the audio because I haven't figured out how to wire it into the video feed yet. Yeah, that's what it is. That's why we can't hear you. So we were but what we were actually talking about during the break was, I said, how would you like to be the guy at TMZ that had to publish the retraction saying, oh, by the way, Jerry Lee Lewis isn't dead. That's crazy, but that's TMZ. That's what they do. TMZ runs with one source, and any credible media outlet will only run with two. It's just, I was a journalist long before I was ever a talking head or a radio talk show host. I was actually in journalism. And one of the first things I learned as a reporter in radio was, God, man, did I have some crappy reporting jobs in radio. But anyway, I was a news reporter and a news anchor, and you have to have two sources. But TMZ will run with like one, and it could be the janitor down the hall who thinks he heard somebody's friend's mother's aunt say that Jerry Lee Lewis was dead. That's essentially what you get out of TMZ. So they had to print a retraction. So just as I was joking with Brian about that. By the way, Jerry Lee Lewis is still alive, I think. Me too. The best I could ask for is like allaccess.com will print my obituary when I die. That'll be about the best I could ask for. I'll get like 3 lines from Perry Michael Simon on the All Access website. That, by the way, longtime sports radio host Jason Page passed away this weekend at the age of 45. Hopefully that isn't like foreboding, because then you'll have the audio of it, and then they'll play the audio of me joking about the fact. Yeah, it's going to be really creepy. True. It is. It's absolutely going to be spooky. But as I was joking around with Brian about that, I said I flipped through my Twitter feed, and man, the Elon Musk Twitter nightmare has already begun in earnest. So he took over an hour ago. No joke. He officially closed the Twitter deal. What did he do? CEO Parag Agarwal, CFO Ned Segal, Chief Content Moderator Vijaya Gade, who got Twitter to ban Donald Trump, by the way. All 3 of them fired. Can you imagine having that much sweat? You can just walk in and be like, you, it's been nice, you're gone. I don't think I bothered to learn their names before it happened. Now you're gonna make me look at his Twitter feed to see if I really want to know if he. Oh, his new profile thing is Chief Twit. Wow, you can't make it up. Oh my God, this country's in so much trouble. Donald Trump's going to be back on Twitter tomorrow. You watch. Trump's going to be back on Twitter tomorrow. And the stock's going to go through the roof too. Because a lot of people will come back if Trump comes back. Elon Musk has 110 million followers on Twitter, by the way. Just kind of gross. Kind of crazy. NFL trade deadline remains very active. The Giants got rid of Kadarius Toney today for a couple of draft picks to Kansas City, who are obviously going to make some use of him. He was disgruntled, wasn't happy with the Giants, and quite frankly, it's addition by subtraction for the Giants to rid themselves of him because he was just loud and wasn't really supportive of what they were trying to do. So it makes sense to kind of let him go. 10 names to look. I won't give you 10, but I'll give you a few names to look out for. I mentioned Nelson Aguilar already. And Green Bay is obviously a fit there. Cincinnati is possible too. Kareem Hunt's in the final year of a contract, and he already made clear he didn't want to come back. So he's obviously going to be a free agent. I think they'd be smart to try and get something for him. If the Rams can, it's funny. You would never think of the Rams as a buyer at the deadline. I mean, if I had said at the beginning of the year, who's going to be a buyer at the deadline, there's no way you would have said the Rams, or rather the Falcons, sorry. You would have never said Atlanta because we all thought they were going to be a dumpster fire. Not even a dumpster fire, just a bad football team because of the, sort of a lack of talent, mishmash, Matt Ryan gone, Marcus Mariota is your starting quarterback, yada, yada, yada. Now, all of a sudden, Atlanta, is a contender to win their division because it's such a bad division. I mean, that's crazy to say, but it's true. Atlanta's tied atop the NFC South at 3-4. So maybe they make a run at somebody like Kareem Hunt. It's not. I've seen crazier things. Denzel Mims, could he be on the move? There's been some talk. He wanted a trade. Jets have declined some offers on him. So Denzel Mims is a guy that could be in the mix. I mean, I think everybody on Carolina is available, but maybe Sam Darnold. You need some depth at the quarterback position, maybe. And again, he's making almost $19 million in guaranteed salary. If the Panthers could get anybody to take some of that, isn't it worth making the deal? It's possible. Boy, have things turned in the Thursday night football game. It was 10-3 Buccaneers at the half. The Ravens were falling all over themselves in the first half. They failed on a 4th and 2 from the 10. They missed a 61-yard Justin Tucker field goal that got blocked just before the half. Well, how did it turn? It's early fourth quarter. It's 17-10 Ravens on top of the Buccaneers. And Tom Brady and this Buccaneers team is on the verge right now. I mean, their season's on the brink. I know that sounds nuts to say when you look at the NFC South and how bad it is. The fact that you've got a 3-4 team and a 3-4 team leading the South, and then a couple of 2-5 teams. But again, if you can't beat the Ravens at home at this point, you're about to suffer potentially your 3rd loss in a row. I mean, what's left for Tampa Bay at this point? And I know they're dealing with some injuries, and all that's fine. Everybody's dealing with injuries. Yes. Yeah. No, testify, Brian. Testify. Buccaneers get a field goal, 17-13 Ravens now, 12:26 to go in the fourth. I mean, they got a touchdown on their first real drive, their first drive of the game, and that was it. Well, but again, teams adjust. When you and so many times you'll see teams get a touchdown on their first drive. You see this all the time in the league. A team will get a touchdown on their first drive because a lot of teams script their first 20 plays. They'll go and script their first set of plays, and sometimes they can take an opposing defense by surprise. And they did that by doing a lot of dinking and dunking and throwing some things underneath. Nothing really big down the field. And they were able to get into a position and get a touchdown. They had one pass that got broken for a big gain to Godwin, I think, on that drive, and then they scored a touchdown. So that's been it for Tampa Bay. Look, I mean, you don't have Gronk. You're missing Cameron Brate. No, but this year he was supposed to be. With Gronk not there, he was supposed to be the primary guy at the tight end position. And now you're sort of without him. Evans was banged up early. Julio Jones is Julio Jones at this age and stage of his career. We'll talk some NFL with my man Matt Mayoko, NBC Sports Bay Area. We'll get into the Niners with him next. The Cash In on SportsMap Radio. I agree. That was top-notch 20 and 10. It's a top-notch 20 and 10. Yeah. Could be. Was that your wife? Oh, okay. People, loving people. Yep. I got it all on this end. We roll along on this Thursday edition of the Cash In, SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. The phone number, as always, if you want to be involved in the show, 800-224-2004, 800. Gas, $2.99. I will never see $2.99 again as a resident of any state, because everywhere I want to live or potentially live will never get that low again. Ever. Nope. California never will. We'll be the first ones with $10 gas. And that will oh no, it'll be sooner than you think. It'll be sooner than you think. When I lived in Singapore, gas there is about $13 a gallon. Yeah. Huge. And they only are and because it's an island country, the government only allows for a certain number of vehicles that can actually be on the road. So you have to have a special license to get on the road. It's kind of interesting. To be continued. We roll along on this Thursday edition of the Cash In. We roll along on this Thursday edition of the Cash In, SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. The phone number, as always, if you want to be involved in the show, 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. And, of course, you can hit me up on Twitter at The Back Page. We'll get back to the talk, but I want to get into the football and specifically talk a little bit about what's going on with the 49ers right now. I was all high on them about 2.5 weeks ago when I was watching this team defensively, and I said, even with Jimmy Garoppolo, I think they could win a Super Bowl because this defense was that good. And now after the last 2 weeks, I'm scratching my head going, man, did I make a mistake? Or did I? Let's bring in Matt Mayoko, covers the 49ers for NBC Sports Bay Area, joins us here on the program. Matt, I looked at this defense as Super Bowl caliber through the first 5 weeks of the season. Where is it defensively right now, and what's happened the last 2 weeks?
Well, that's a great question, Jason. Well, I would say this: the first 5 weeks of the season, they played some pretty bad defenses. I'm sorry, pretty bad offenses. And then last week, of course, they played the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes and company really kind of sliced and diced them up. But, they've had some injuries. There's kind of a work in progress with a lot of different defensive linemen out there. They lost Emmanuel Mosley, very good cornerback for the season. So that's a great question. I don't know what to make of them because of all the moving parts. And they did a pretty good number on the Rams several weeks ago. So we'll see if they're able to duplicate that performance, because the 49ers, really, this is a big game for them. Of course it is. And it's a big game for the Rams, too. So I still think the 49ers defense is capable of being a championship-level defense. So I think overriding all of that, though, is the offense. They haven't produced much. They haven't scored a lot of points. But then again, you look around the NFL, and there are so many offensive teams that are underperforming. So I think the 49ers kind of fall into that big bucket of the NFL teams where here we are 7 games into the season, and you really don't know what they're all about.
What is the loss of Eric Armstead meant to this team, and what's the latest on him with the foot injury?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play this week against the Rams. The hope and expectation is that he'll be available after the bye week. But that's big because the 49ers defensive line is very good. But when you look at it, they have Nick Bosa, who's an absolute star. And we're talking a guy who's probably on the short list of Defensive Player of the Year candidates. And then a step below Nick Bosa is Eric Armstead. But then many steps below that are the rest of the guys. And what has made the 49ers successful with their defensive line is that players 3 through 10 are about the same. And so you don't lose much when you start rotating guys in and you're bringing in fresh bodies and all of that. But Armstead is a guy that is very good against the run, and he brings some very good pass rush from the inside as well. So losing him is a big issue with the 49ers.
Matt Mayoko's covered the 49ers for, 25 plus years. NBC Sports Bay Area joins us here on the Cash-In SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. One more on the defense before I switch over to the offensive side, maybe a little coaching talk too. But back to on the defensive side, I know Jason Verrett has been activated from the PUP list, the corner. What is D'Amico Ryan saying on the idea of him starting this weekend and how much he can contribute and help out here?
Well, I just don't know that he's ready. They opened that 21-day window for him 3 weeks ago, so they had to make a move on Wednesday, whether it was activating him to the 53-man, keeping him physically unable to perform for the rest of the season, or releasing him. And so they opted to activate him. I think that this is a move for down the road. I don't think he's ready to play yet, but as I mentioned, they lost Emmanuel Mosley for the season with an ACL tear. Of all the guys on their team, and they like some of those young guys, but none of those young guys at this point, guys like Sam Womack, Diamador Lenore, and Ambry Thomas, none of those guys bring what Mosley brings to the table. The only guy that has the chance to make that position stronger, I think, is a healthy Jason Verrett. So the issue, of course, throughout Jason Verrett's career is that he hasn't been healthy. It's been really difficult for him to get on the field and stay on the field. So I think this was a move that if he can get his way onto the field and stay healthy, 49ers are going to benefit immensely from that. But I don't think he's ready to make a contribution this coming week. Perhaps after the bye, the 49ers play the Rams this week, and then the bye, and then they have their stretch run. But I just don't think he's in a position right now to make a contribution immediately.
Give me a sense for what the Christian McCaffrey move did inside this locker room. I know I hit you up on the night of the trade, and you're like, Yeah, right. Like, I'm going to be able to talk to you. And I don't blame you. I had to try, though. But we're sitting here on the radio talking about it, and I'm like, God, who can I get to talk about McCaffrey? So give me a sense for what the McCaffrey move did inside the locker room in terms of kind of buoying the spirits of this team. Just, in terms of confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, no, what it did was, in the morning after this trade happened, it happened, pretty late in the evening on a Thursday. The next morning, before McCaffrey had even arrived, both John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan addressed the team. And their overriding point was, this should be read by you guys in the locker room as a vote of confidence for what you're capable of doing, because we don't make this trade unless we feel that the pieces are here to win and that Christian McCaffrey can give us another boost and push us over the top. So from that standpoint, I think it did give the locker room a nice little boost of confidence and a little jolt of, okay, it's on. Now, of course, 2 days later, they went out and didn't play very well against Kansas City. But I think that there was confidence that the pieces were in place for this team to contend. And now I think there's more of a sense of that the team has the ability, if they can put it all together, to make it deep into the playoffs. Now, they haven't shown that yet, but I think that the players recognize that you don't give up 4 draft picks and commit the kind of money that Christian McCaffrey has on his contract in future seasons unless you feel like this is a championship caliber roster.
Well, they obviously did give up a lot to get Christian McCaffrey. With that said, the trade deadline is next week. Is this the last deal that this team is making, or is there still wiggle room, something else they can give up potentially if they feel the need to upgrade, and where would that be?
Yeah, I do think that this is the last move because, they've already gave up their first-round pick in that trade, 2021 NFL draft for Trey Lance, and then they gave up a second, a third, a fourth, and then next year a fifth. But they do have 2 third-round compensatory picks available in this 2023 draft, but I just don't sense that they're in a position right now to make another trade. I think that the team they have is the team they're gonna go with, and the one guy that I would say that if he's healthy and can make a contribution, who can give them a lift, in addition to Christian McCaffrey, would be a healthy Jason Brett, but that remains to be seen.
Talking with Matt Mayoko, NBC Sports Bay Area, giving us some time on the 49ers. They get set to take on the Rams this week, and it's just wild. I'm looking up and down, the NFL standings. It's really a season unlike any other with all the 3-4, 4-3 mishmash of teams. You've got 3 or 4 teams that you'd view as the top of the league, and then you've just got everybody else. And the NFC in particular, I know everybody, loves what the Eagles are doing at 6-0, but there has to be a feeling that even with Philadelphia off to the start they are, I don't think anybody views them as inevitable by any stretch. And even at this 3-4 start, I have to imagine spirits are still relatively high surrounding this team. Am I wrong?
Jason, I would think that almost every team in the NFC probably feels that same way. As you kind of outlined there, you get into the playoffs, and I think it's going to be any teams. It's going to be wide open. And I just don't know that whenever the Eagles, let's assume that they finish the deal and they get home field advantage and the number 1 seed, I don't know that, the winner of the 7-2 game, or let's just say the 7 seed beats the 2 seed, I don't know that the 7 seed will be looked at as a huge underdog. So the 49ers do have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. They have talent, they have among the highest paid players at almost every level of their team, whether it's running back or wide receiver or tight end or offensive line or defensive line, linebacker, defensive back, you name it. The 49ers have to feel good ultimately about what they're capable of doing. Their issue is they just haven't shown it yet. that they haven't had much consistency at all. But again, you look around the NFC in particular, and other than the Eagles, and I guess you could say the Giants and maybe the Vikings, I mean, what team has shown that consistency? So it's 10 games left in the season. This is a big one coming up against the Rams. For the Rams, it would move them to 4-3. It would move the 49ers to 3-5 if they lose. But if the 49ers win, they're at 500, and they would hold the tiebreaker over the Rams because they would have swept the season series. So to me, it's just wide open at this point in the season.
Let me get you out with one on Jimmy Garoppolo. The shock factor is obviously worn off with the aspect of him now being the starter for this team with Trey Lance done for the year. Where's the relationship right now between Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan, the way of managing this offense in this bizarre marriage?
Yeah, it is bizarre. I mean, I would say it is what it's always been. In order for Garoppolo to return to the team, it had to be okay with him, and it had to be okay with Kyle Shanahan. So Kyle Shanahan is, Jimmy knows that he wasn't their first choice. From the moment they made that trade to move up to number 3 overall in the 2021 draft, he knew that his time was numbered, and he knew that Kyle Shanahan had his eyes on somebody else. And Jimmy pushed his ego to the side and sucked it up last year. Even though Trey Lance was the backup, everybody knew that eventually Trey Lance would be the starter. And then once the season ended, the 49ers made that official, and they're moving on from Garoppolo. Trey Lance is the starter. But then, for a lot of different reasons, certainly the big one being that he had to have that surgery on his shoulder, 49ers weren't able to trade him. And ultimately, Jimmy Garoppolo decided that the best spot for him to further his career and set himself up for next season was to return to the 49ers. And the 49ers decided that the best thing for them was to ask Jimmy Garoppolo to take a pay cut. He accepted it, and now he was back as the backup. And, less than a game and a half into this season, the 49ers are putting all their eggs into the Jimmy Garoppolo basket again. So it's a symbiotic relationship. The more Garoppolo wins, the better it's for the 49ers, and the better it is for Garoppolo's career. So Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo kind of need each other at this point.
Well, you mentioned that, and I only got 30 seconds here, but it made me think. Shanahan's under contract through 2025. They go and invest a ton to go and get Christian McCaffrey. If this thing goes really south, is Shanahan at risk?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, not for the short term. There's so much that goes into a coach being on the hot seat, and he is still seen as a very smart football mind. The locker room's together. I think there's a better chance Kyle Shanahan will end his tenure with the 49ers as the longest running coach in 49ers history. I think that he's here for the long haul.
Great stuff. Matt Mayoko, NBC Sports Bay Area on the Niners. I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
All right, Jason. Always my pleasure.
We'll wrap up the hour next. Well, Buccaneers opt for a field goal on 4th and goal from the 8. Not sure how I feel about that decision, but it really is. That drive really does, Brian. It is such a perfect example of what's going on with this team. Tom Brady throws a touchdown pass, gets called back for holding. And then on a 4th and goal from the 3, they're going to go for it. False start. Lose 5 yards, decide to kick the field goal. So they trail 24-16 with 4:57 to go in fourth quarter. And now it'll be interesting to see how aggressive John Harbaugh gets on this drive, with Lamar Jackson and a chance to close the game out on offense. And by the way, that Brady drive that went deep into Baltimore territory aided by a 40-yard pass interference penalty. Otherwise, Tampa Bay still having trouble moving the football. And then you get the mistakes killing you too. Another hour of the cash-in is right around the corner. Don't you go anywhere. More to do on SportsMap Radio. Well, ain't that grand. Not particularly. I guess the first 2 segments. Yeah, the Mac Jones stuff. Yeah, the Mac Jones stuff. Just cut it off when I'm done talking about the Mac Jones stuff. And I'm going to do some stuff on LeBron here that probably will work. Maybe we could sandwich the interview in between a few things. Well, maybe my World Series prediction should probably be in there too. Only if it's the Astros winning, yeah. You might be surprised at my prediction. Yeah. Maybe. Or I might be just trying to throw you off the scent. Why does it smell like feet? It's where I am in the living room right now, where I have the broadcast set up. It just smells like feet right now. I guess so. That's what happens when you go the whole Let's see. What did we talk about during the top of the hour interlude? There was a nutty professor references. We talked about the Thursday night football game, the dead rat. I sent you pictures of the dead juvenile rat we found under. Well, we didn't find it. We had set up a bunch of traps. We called an exterminator to come in and take this bad boy out because it was tearing up everything. It was climbing on the counter and chewing up like any plastic bottles. It was just eating plastic. It got into our rice. We have a thing where we keep all our rice. I'm partnered to an Asian guy, so we have rice, big rice containers, and the rat was getting in and eating all the rice. It was a disaster. Uncooked rice. It was just going to town on uncooked rice, which I guess rats can eat. I guess rats have like iron stomachs. They could probably eat anything. Yeah. And then he was going into my dog's. He was trying to get into my dog's food barrel that's covered up, but he was chewing the rat was chewing the plastic off that. So finally, we set up some traps in some strategic places because we were figuring out how he was getting from point A to point B. And the other day we caught him. Mickey Mouse, the rat is no more. R.I.P. I was actually trying to do. We caught it in a glue trap, and I chose glue traps because I was going to set it free. But when I tried to get it off the glue trap, it felt like it was going to be a scene out of The Walking Dead when they go to grab the face of the walker and the face just peels off. I thought that's what was going to happen with the rat. When I went to go take the rat off the glue trap, half the rat was just going to stay on the glue trap. And so I didn't want to have to live that. Yeah. And I just felt bad because it was still alive and it was trying to move off of it. And I was like, dude, sorry. This is end of days for you, man. Sorry. Sayonara till tomorrow. So the exterminator came, took him away. And, he's seen better days. Looks like the end of the road for the Buccaneers. They trail 27-16. We'll let you know what's going on in that and more. Another hour of the Cash In right now on SportsMap Radio. TB12, baby. TB12. The 12 may stand for how many losses they wind up with this year. There you go. What an undignified way to end your career. Yeah. Good call. Flag. Oh, they got somebody for roughing the passer. What are the Buccaneers here? Let's see. All right, about 2 minutes to go. Buccaneers trailing the Ravens 27-16. There was a review underway that was dragging out a bit. We'll have full postgame on this when it becomes available. You'll hear from Tom Brady and I don't know, maybe John Harbaugh. I usually tend to go to the losing side because that's the more compelling story when it comes to postgame in these things. So chances are that's what we'll do. Ravens with a 27-16 lead. We'll see if the Buccaneers can get anything late. You know, we didn't do any live betting on this tonight. We kind of got wrapped up in some things. But I have to tell you right now, at 27-16 Ravens, and it's Buccaneers plus 8.5, I would probably take that 8.5. I could see the Buccaneers absolutely getting a garbage touchdown here. Backdoor cover, and that 8.5. I would be all over that 8.5 right now. Because here's the thing. Here's the other reason I love the 8.5. If they get deep enough into Baltimore territory, they may take the quick field goal. So you've got two real opportunities to get that plus 8.5. So to me, that's the pick that makes sense. If you can get it on the live betting at 8.5, you got to get it. Although Brady just got sacked, so I don't know how much that's going to impact that situation. He's gone down a few times tonight. I'm telling you, I think he retires before the end of the year. I really do. Especially if the reports out there are true that Giselle has said, you need to retire or I'm walking. And they've already got divorce attorneys. Part of me actually thinks, though, once you've already gotten to the point where you've got divorce attorneys, is there anything that could really save the marriage? Marriage counselor Brian McDonald on line 1. I don't know if anybody wants to see, the bird that is Tom Brady running off the field with his shirt off. Yeah, I'm going to say no. That's a hard no for me. First down, Tampa Bay. I'm telling you, that 8.5. See, now the odds makers got smart and dropped the live line to 7.5, so a field goal does you no good. That's why when I said take it at 8.5, you should have taken it. That's why live betting, you've got to be on top of it. You've got to be constantly monitoring it. You can make money in live betting, I'm telling you. But you got to be quick. You got to be quick. NBA live betting game of the night. Now that we pretty much know what's going to happen in this Buccaneers game, because as I told you, 8.5 was the pick. Let's see here. On the NBA tonight, our live betting game of choice is Heat Warriors. They're at the half with Miami trailing Golden State 63-59. The personal live betting choice, once again, take the under. 63-59 is 123, 122. I would say go with the under, which is 231.5. Your live betting pick of the night. Our NBA live bet. There's another game at the half. Memphis and Sacramento, 63-56. Grizzlies on top of the Kings. Sacramento off to a slow start this season. So, anyways, keep an eye on that. We'll let you know what's going on. But again, the live betting choice of us is 231.5, the under on the Heat and the Warriors. Write it down. 231.5. Book it. What's going on in this game here? Brady's looking to spike the ball, and they're gonna. I'm telling you, man, I am so good at this live betting thing. It's scary. Here are the Buccaneers inside the 10. They'll get the garbage touchdown, and this game will come down to probably an onside kick. Although I don't know how many timeouts. Tampa Bay is out of timeout, so it's going to come down to an onside kick after they get the garbage touchdown here. And your 8.5 bet that I just gave you is a winner. Thank you. Have a nice night. Coming up this hour, we already gave you the NBA live betting game of the night. We'll preview the World Series coming up. I will give you my pick. I will give you my pick as it pains me to do so. That's coming up a little later on in this hour. And one baseball pundit who gets far too much airtime makes an idiotic suggestion about how to shorten baseball games. We got that coming up. I said last night that I felt like LeBron James, I thought it was a real possibility that LeBron James could ask for a trade prior to the NBA trade deadline. If it looks like, this thing is the Hindenburg of a season that it appears to be for the Lakers. And it's looking like it's going to be that Hindenburg of a season for the Lakers. So, to me, if we all know it's going that direction, why is LeBron going to stay on a losing team? He's hanging around to play with his son. So what's the real point for LeBron to just hang around? What, because it's L.A. and he's got business interests there? He's going to be doing something on Prime Video with the Thursday Night Football game next week. The barbershop thing that he does for HBO, they're bringing that to Prime Video. So LeBron obviously has interests in Hollywood. But guess what? He doesn't have to live in Hollywood and play for a team in Los Angeles in order to keep pursuing those interests. And if that's the case, just retire. If all you're hanging around LA for is all the Hollywood stuff, then don't hang around and wait a couple of years for your kid to be ready to play. I mean, what is it you want to do? And that also got me to thinking that story about him in this Prime Video announcement he made about the NFL. If we're going to get on Tom Brady at age 45, if we're going to get on Tom Brady at age 45 for, hey, he went to Bob Kraft's wedding. He took 10 days or 11 days off before the start of the season and disappeared during the preseason. We get him on that. We get him on, the Veterans Day off thing that wound up going away real quickly. If we're going to get on Brady for those things, we also have to talk about the fact that LeBron, on a team that's 0-4, is making announcements today about something he's doing with Prime Video and the barbershop. Can't we make the same sort of complaints about LeBron, who I love, by the way? He's one of my favorite players of all time. But the reality is, LeBron doesn't seem like he's 100% engaged and focused on what the Lakers are going through right now and what it's going to take to try and turn that thing around. So I can argue he's already checked out. And then this sort of cryptic message today that he posted on social media. LeBron James' caption on Instagram today, after last night's loss dropped the Lakers to 0-4, said, "How long will you be taken for granted?" It was a picture of LeBron soaring to the basket, and he put in his Instagram post, "How long will you be taken for granted? ... Keep going, kid." And that's it. And he's done these sorts of things before, and you've got to try and read between the lines and see what he's saying. And maybe he's making the argument that, yes, he's being taken for granted by the Lakers or by the NBA or by the NBA world, whatever it may be. By the way, he had 8 turnovers in the game last night. So as much as we want to say, well, it's Russell Westbrook and the Lakers can't shoot, you cannot commit 8 of your team's 13 turnovers in a basketball game and not be held accountable on some level, even if you are LeBron. So here's the onside kick. By the way, we were right. We told you. What did I say, Brian McDonald? That's all we do is make people money if they listen. I said, absolutely. I told you. That's all we do is win. All I do is win. That's it. No matter what. Absolutely. It's true. Another live betting winner on the cash-in. Another night, another live betting winner. That's all we do is give you live betting winners. You don't need 4 or 5 live betting winners every night. Just bang one really hard. There it is. Tell John Belmer. Hopefully he'll get the right show when he makes it. Ravens recover the onside kick. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are going to drop to 3-5 on the season. Baltimore will improve to 5-3, continuing to lead the AFC North. A half game ahead of the Bengals. Thursday Night Football is in the books. Even though it's not officially final, the game's over. They are. Shoot, 7-10 might win that division. First team to 8 might win the division. 7-10 might win the division. It's that kind of bad. And listen, folks, I'll say it again. This is what Tampa Bay is. They are not a good football team. Period. Full stop. And now officially every team in the NFC South has a point differential that is in the red. And that may be the only division in the NFL that has that distinction. Yes, it is. Buccaneers came in tonight at 124 points scored, 124 allowed. They're officially now the entire division of the NFL South. 7 games into the season, 8 for the Buccaneers. The entire division is in the red. That's astonishing. Astonishingly bad, but astonishing. Wow. I can't get my head around how bad the NFL is this year. Five teams in the NFC are over 500, and 3 of them reside in the NFC East. It's so bad. Oh my God, it's so bad. It's just wow. Yes. Oh. Remember the year? I think that happened with what? Seattle in like 2011 or 2010. Yeah. Yes. 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 Oh, man. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can hit us up on Twitter as well, at The Back Page. Hit me up on Twitter, at The Back Page. Our friends in Dallas tonight are celebrating a Mavericks 129-125 overtime win over Brooklyn. That's the other dumpster fire to watch around the NBA this year. Clippers lost to Oklahoma City tonight. There's so many weird outcomes early in the year. And I say it all the time. The reason is teams don't know they suck. You know, early on in the year, you don't want to play these bad NBA teams that, you know, are just filled with young guys trying to make a name for themselves, because early in the year, they haven't given up. So they're going to play hard for 48 minutes. And a lot of these veteran-laced star teams, they're just not going at 100% yet. At any rate, we'll have full post game on the Thursday Night Football debacle for the Buccaneers, who are now 3-5. More to do on the cash-in as we continue on SportsMap Radio. Just bang it hard. Yeah. Yeah. SportsMap. Jason Page. Hey, listen, the guy doing the imaging for my show is a really good friend of mine. He's awesome. Chad Erickson. Look him up. He's one of the top voice guys, imaging guys in our business. He's really, really good at what he does. I'm actually friends. I don't want to say we're friends. We're friendly and we're contacts and stuff. You ever see movie trailers where it's in a world where da 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 da? Well, I'm actually friends with one of the movie trailer guys. There's only 2 or 3. And one of them is a guy named Ben Patrick Johnson, who happens to be a friend of mine. He lives in Palm Springs. In a world. He really has the voice of God. He could talk to you and just be like, "Hello, Jason." And you're like, "Oh my God, I'm in a movie." Oh my God. Yes. "Jason, could you please come and pick me up? I need a ride home from the airport." That's his voice. It's real. I swear. Coming up in 10 minutes, I'll try to regain control of this show. Interesting twist on I have not spent 1 minute talking about Anderson Silva and Jake Paul fighting because I just think it's all a joke. It's these made-for-TV money grabs by these guys. Nobody's fighting for anything. Nobody's winning any titles. You know what makes fights great? Guys fighting for titles. That's what makes fighting great if you're into boxing and these things. Nobody cares about some exhibition between Anderson Silva and Jake Paul. Yes. Well, here's what's interesting. There's actually now some interesting stakes beyond, bragging rights between these two. And so I'm glad you actually brought that up. It's almost like you knew where I was going, even though you didn't. Interesting twist on the Silva-Paul fight that I'll get to coming up. Plus a gambling controversy in the NBA. 2K. You like that? There is an NBA 2K gambling controversy. I can't wait to talk about this because that's what we talk about on this show. It's called The Cash In. We talk about sports betting stuff. And believe it or not, you can bet on people playing NBA 2K against each other. Trust me, I know this. You can actually bet on people playing a video game against each other. That's coming up. So the World Series begins on Friday night. This is so painful. So painful. I don't know if I can utter the words. Phillies and Astros, game 1 in Houston on Friday night. First pitch, 8:04 p.m. Eastern, with Justin Verlander on the mound against Aaron Nola. And the World Series odds right now, and they haven't really moved much, is the Astros minus 190 to win the World Series. The Phillies are plus 165. Obviously, the value is in the Phillies. But if you feel really strongly about the Astros, like I think so many people do, on paper, you would think the Astros win this series. But the one thing I'll say about the Phillies, and here comes the rationalization. The one thing I will say about the Phillies is this. Every time they've beaten somebody in this postseason, while they've, celebrated and gotten excited, it's been on to the next one. They've been on a mission from the start of this postseason. It wasn't simply win a series or win a DS. They've been on a mission to win a World Series. And I think the presence of Bryce Harper, and this was the difference to me between the Phillies and the Padres. Padres beat the Dodgers, and the whole world was on fire in San Diego. They acted like they won the World Series. And here's the problem with that Padres roster. Where was the World Series experience? Where was it? Where was the guy to rein that in and say, hey, yeah, we haven't won anything yet. We beat the Dodgers, great. You know where the Padres are right now? Watching the World Series with the Dodgers. They're in the same place. Who cares that they beat them? They didn't win the World Series. That's the goal. You know, it's like Red Sox fans who celebrate the I always say this, the successful idea of a Red Sox season is, did we win a World Series? The next most successful thing for a Red Sox season is, did the Yankees win a World Series? No? Okay, great. Same thing with the Mets. Idea of a successful Mets season is any one where the Yankees don't win a World Series. And the Padres were behaving like a team that had won a World Series. The Phillies have never given you that impression. And it comes back, I think it comes back actually to two guys. One is Bryce Harper. The other, Rob Thompson. Interim, now permanent manager of that team, because he managed with the Yankees. And he knows what winning is about. And you cannot underestimate, when you get to this time in the season, those intangibles, they matter. It goes beyond the batting average and home runs and RBIs and ERA and strikeouts. It goes beyond all that. And to me, the Phillies have an attitude of, we belong here. We're here to win the World Series. We aren't here to win a series or two. We're here to win the series, this one. And look, they've got one of the best players on the planet in Bryce Harper. And, you know, a lot of guys on that roster have stepped up in a big way here in the playoffs. And there's something to be said for being the hot team entering the postseason. Reminds me of the Marlins. 2003? 2004? Yeah. Yep. 03, I was there when nobody gave them a shot to beat the Yankees. All those young arms, what'd they do? Beat the Josh Beckett, could not be stopped. And the Yankees lost on their home field at Yankee Stadium. I watched the Marlins celebrate on the field. Watched grown men cry in the bleachers. Don't think it could happen? There's plenty of examples where the underdog in these series wins. And that's why I'm going to tell you who I think wins the World Series in a minute. That was my Ryan Seacrest. And we're going to tell you who wins the World Series in a minute. Stick around. More of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. We'll have post-game reaction from the Thursday night football game coming up a little later on as well. Don't go anywhere. Why would you? Let me tell you something about me and radio. I have If I was properly groomed, I think I could look like Andrew Whitworth. Well, not not the tall part, but the bald with the beard. Like, I kind of got that going right now. See, you don't have the video feed. If you look at the video feed of me, you'll see. If I just shaved my head, I can look like Andrew Whitworth. There might be dead rats. You might see one, like, dancing in the background. Too bad we don't have a drum roll. You have a drum roll sound effect? Yeah, you stink. Yeah, I did. Yep. It's that time, ladies and gentlemen. Who's going to win the World Series? I gave you my rationale already. I told you it pained me to make this pick, but I got to do it. It's what people expect of me to make the pick. Sorry, I had to turn off the Thursday Night Football game on behind me. But the time has come. Look at that. Huh? See? I'm fast. Well done. All right, does it stop? Does yours stop at least? My God. It sounded like somebody was firing a gun. It's like ready to hit the floor. A little PTSD. Phillies, Astros. I cannot pick the Astros. I'm taking the Phillies. I cannot take the Astros. Phillies in. I'm gonna actually surprise you. This is gonna sound nuts. If the Phillies get one of the first two, I wouldn't be shocked if they actually won in 5. I'm telling you. I've been thinking about this. No pinstripe glasses. I'm just telling you what I think. I'm not telling people to go out and bet their mortgages on this. I'm just giving you what my gut is telling me. Just telling. And you know what? Part of the gut is the heart. So I guess that kind of makes sense. Yeah. Maybe. I'm not Dr. Dean Adele. Plus 280, by the way, for the World Series to be decided in 5 games. Plus 554 to be decided in 4. Plus 205 to be decided in 6. So that seems to be the consensus, is that it'll go 6. My original thought was Phillies in 6. I got a hunch that the Phillies are going to win this thing. Just do. No, it's fine. Well, listen, and again, 7 games is plus 215. All right, here's what I'll do. I'll say Phillies in 6. I hope it ends in 5 because I'd like to see him celebrate in Philly, but I'll go Phillies in 6 to win the World Series. And your MVP will be Bryce Harper, who, by the way, interestingly enough, and this is fascinating to me. Now, the betting odds say that the Astros are going to win the series. They're minus 190. But here's what's interesting. World Series MVP betting, guess who the top odds are? Bryce Harper. Not Jordan, not Verlander, not Kyle Tucker, not Bregman. No, Bryce Harper is the odds-on favorite to win the MVP. And the MVP isn't usually on a losing team. Yeah, but if the Phillies have no chance to win the series, why would Bryce Harper be the favorite to win? It doesn't make sense. It's really nonsensical. Unless you read into it too much like I do, and you think the Phillies are going to win the World Series. So I'm going to say Phillies win the World Series. Bryce Harper gets his second ring, and he'll have rings now with two different teams, which would be really cool. And so that's where I'm going. Phillies in 6, the official pick of the cash-in. That's what I got for you tonight. 1-800-224 or SportsMap Radio. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Hit me up on Twitter at the back page. If you have a World Series prediction, shoot it to me. I'll tell you what I'm going to do tonight. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to do something fun. Ready? Here's what I want to do. On Twitter tonight, at the back page, wherever you're listening in America, go on Twitter right now. Give me your World Series prediction. Whoever gets it right, and multiple people may have the same pick, I will pick a winner at random from my Twitter timeline. And we're going to give them a prize. We'll reach into the prize closet and give you something cool. How's that? That's called an impromptu contest. I like giving stuff away. I love giving stuff away. Maybe I'll even throw in a cool card. Maybe I'll even throw in like a cool rookie baseball card of somebody who's on the winning team. Maybe I'll even do something like that. Give you something with some value to it. I'll reach into my collection. But we'll give you another prize beside that. So go on Twitter at the back page. If you don't follow me there, go and follow me on Twitter at the back page and tell me who you think is going to win the World Series and in how many games. On Twitter right now at the back page. So, Brian, you do not count. I mean, you count as a human. You count as a human, but I'm such a jerk. Yeah, I know. You count as a human, but you don't count for your pick. But yours is Astros in 6. You're going to go home tonight, cry to your wife. He said I don't count as a human. So go home. Go on Twitter right now at the back page and let me know what your pick is. On Twitter at the back page. Send me your pick, and we'll do it between now and first pitch tomorrow. If you send me a tweet with your prediction, and then after the series is done, we'll go through them, and we'll figure out a winner. I'll pick one at random. Use the prize. I'll use the pick generator that I've got, and we'll find a winner. Just like that. Speaking of the World Series, Rob Thompson, well, given a little bit of a pick-me-up for his team, I guess you could say, and trying to keep everybody on the same page.
In my career, I'm not as even-keeled as I am now. It's just you kind of learn these moments and know that you can't control things, and so why worry about certain things? And I think just the experience of going through all these different moments throughout 30-some year career just kind of teaches you to be even-keeled.
Somebody asked him about the Astros and the potential of them stealing signs again. Here's what Rob Thompson said.
It's not just the Astros. I think we're constantly looking at our pitchers, our infielders, our catchers, as to are they ever giving something away, whether it's pitches, whether it's location, that type of thing. And for me personally, there's no extra motivation just because of that to beat the Astros. I just want to win a World Series.
Right answer. Absolutely the right answer. So, see what happens. Phillies in 6, though, is the official prediction of the program. There we go. We'll keep you covered on the post-game when anybody comes to the podium. Complete post-game sound. I'm interested to hear what Brady has to say after another loss and this team dropping to 5-3 on the season. As it relates to the NBA, we told you earlier in the show, 231.5 was the live betting at the half between Miami and Golden State. Right now, 11:14 to go, fourth quarter, and the score is 95-89 Warriors. So we're right near, we're on a pace to go right near that 231.5. I'd still be banging the under, though. So that's all I'll tell you. I would, and like right now, the live betting is up to 234.5. I would still be taking the under on this game. As you get into the fourth quarter of these games, and I'm surprised live betting hasn't caught up to this yet. NBA possessions become at much more of a premium under 6 minutes in the fourth quarter of a game. And whereas you get possessions that take, under 10 seconds up until that point, games move a lot faster. NBA games, when you get down to the final 6 minutes and then even more so in the final few minutes, there's a lot of grinding shot clock possessions. Not taking a shot till late in the shot clock. The defense tightens up. And to me, that always spells unders. But we'll see if I wind up being right. 231.5 was the number at the half. We told you to take the under. We'll see how it winds up. We gave you the live betting pick in the NFL game. Told you to take the Buccaneers plus 8.5 when they had the football late. Said they'd get the garbage touchdown. They did. We told you. It's what we do on this show. Just give you winners. We're not very good at picking them, before the game starts, since I'm only 14-15 on Paige's picks this year, but we've done all right on the live betting. A lot of opportunities there. Can I tell you guys the dumbest suggestion I have heard, I think, with regard to shortening baseball games? Jessica Mendoza should stay out of the attempts to become baseball's next commissioner, because this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You know what she said today, Brian? Jessica Mendoza of ESPN said, here's my idea to shorten baseball games. Make them 7-inning games. Oh, my God. What planet are you on? Now I know why they don't use her on TV on Sunday Night Baseball anymore. My God. That's a step up. Well, I won't crush another person. But it's just such a bad way to go. And here's the biggest reason. You will basically take everything that baseball's done over 120 years. All the records will have to go out the window. You'll have to have new records established on the fact that everybody's getting less at-bats. Less innings are being played, so it changes the pitching. It changes the bullpens. It would change rosters because you'd probably need less pitchers because guys wouldn't have to go as much in the bullpen. And players would be playing less innings. So guess what the biggest problem of all is? They're going to get less money. You know what the owners would say to 7 innings? Oh, let's do it. Yay. I can pay you 2 innings less per game. Oh, my God. Yes, you're going to cost people jobs. No. Yes. That would be it. It's moronic. It's positively moronic. So then what's an official game? 3.5 innings? 4 innings? So after 4 innings, if it's raining, that's an official game. Hey, but it only took 2 hours. I think what baseball's doing to shorten games is actually going to work out really well. Yes, the only thing I'm not crazy about is the throw-over rule. That you can only throw over twice, and then on the third one, it's called a balk. I'm not crazy about that, but they say in the minor leagues that it hasn't really impacted much. But I look at a lot of stolen base numbers of some of these premier prospects, and they're stealing a lot of bases, which tells me it does matter. Yeah, it's true. I think that's going to change. I think stealing bases is going to, yeah. Yes. Stealing bases is going to come back in vogue. 8 minutes left to go. Fourth quarter. Golden State on top of Miami, 102-94. So we're at 196 231.5 was the half line total. We told you take the under. We'll see what continues to happen with that. As we continue with the cash in the next hour, we'll hear from Tom Brady if I have anything to say about it. I still got to get to my gambling story from NBA 2K and the interesting twist on the Silva Jake Paul fight. We'll get to that as well. Stick around. More to do. Cash in SportsMap Radio. When is that? I think it's awesome. I got to be honest. I think it's really cool. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Logan Paul in WWE. He really is. Why are they not using him more, though? Is that just the deal he signed? He doesn't want to be a full-time. Comes and goes. Yeah, I think it's a cute little twist. You know he has no shot to win. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately. And I'll still watch it. Because I'm an idiot. All right, Todd Bowles' press conference is going on as we speak.
Hey, Coach, can you give us an update on Shaquille Barrett?
Hey, have you signed up for Jock MKT yet? Brian McDonald's going to do it right now. Jock MKT, as we speak, jockmkt.com, or download the Jock MKT app, or Android or iPhone. Jock MKT offers live daily markets for sports that let you buy and sell shares of athletes in real time with other users, all for real money. And each share, it has a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. Instead of picking an entire fantasy roster, just go grab shares in one or two of your favorite athletes. They do well, you get paid. Simple as that. Bid on shares before the games in the IPO phase. Trade shares live while the games are happening. All shares have a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. They're currently live in 36 states with plenty more to come for NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, and NASCAR. Head over to the Jock MKT app or go to jockmkt.com and make a deposit using my promo code CASHIN to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. CASHIN, one word, CASHIN. Your first market will also be risk-free with losses refunded up to $100. I know because I lost in my first one, and they refunded me my losses. Head over to the Jock MKT app right now or go to jockmkt.com. Deposit with the promo code CASHIN, one word, to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. jockmkt.com or the Jock MKT app. That's how we wrap up this hour of the Cash In. We're back with post-game conference sound. We'll hear from Todd Bowles, Tom Brady, and more as we continue on SportsMap Radio. And away we go. what do you know? Final hour of a Thursday/Friday edition of the show. Glad you're with us. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app. Brian McDonald, no relation to Ben McDonald or Old McDonald, pushing the buttons, engineering, and producing the show. E-I-E-I-O. It wasn't on your bingo card. I can guarantee it. How am I doing on my... my live pick is still live, but our run of wins may be nearing its end. So Warriors lead the Heat 111-105. 3:35 to go. We are officially in sweat mode on this game because I had the number at 231.5 at halftime, the live betting. I said take the under. And right now it's 111-105 Golden State with 3:30 to go in the fourth. So 16.5 points away. So 17 points. 17 more points in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And my live bet will be a loser for the first time in a while. We're hanging on for dear life. We're going to sweat it out together. It's all right. That's what we do here on the show. We'll hear from Tom Brady coming up in a couple of minutes. Post-game press conference sound from him. Maybe a few words from Todd Bowles as well, but I think everybody wants to hear what Brady has to say at this point. I can tell you one thing from Todd Bowles' press conference. Shaq Barrett looks like an Achilles injury for the Buccaneers. That's bad news. I mean, they're dropping like flies right now on that team. I mean, they've got a whole host of injuries they're dealing with. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good for sure. We'll keep you updated on that Heat Warriors live bet that we gave you earlier. Matt Mayoko coming up in 32 minutes. Does a great job on the 49ers for NBC Sports Bay Area. Tom Brady, though, on the other side after a loss for the Buccaneers to the Ravens in Thursday Night Football. It's SportsMap Radio. Oh, still got there. Still got there. Right on, baby. Hit the post. Hit the post. It's been a fun show tonight. You knew I couldn't take the Astros. Come on. This was a good game for Lamar Jackson tonight. Yeah. All right, so I'll have Brady post-game ready to go. Let's see how long it was. Oh, he just stepped off the podium, literally. No, but it should be enough to do some stuff in this segment. Sounds like it was 5:50, I'm going to say. Not even. Let's see. It's about 5 minutes. I may play it in its entirety because it's pretty short. Yeah, it's about 5 minutes. I ever sent you a picture of Have I ever sent you a picture of my setup here? I'll show you something. Here. No, this is... No, I'll show you. Watch. Check your... No, check your phone. Yeah, so the iPad on the bottom left, that's where I play the post-game YouTube stuff. Boom, 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 boom. All right, you got any thoughts on the Thursday night football game? Give us a call, 1-800-224-2004. Is it over for the Buccaneers at this point at 3-5? You want to make an argument for them? I'm all about hearing that. I need a good laugh. 800-224-2004. Tweet at the show at the back page. Tom Brady at the podium a short time ago. Here is what he said to the media.
Hey guys.
You've never been 3-5 before, and there's 3 in a row here. It sounded like you spent some time at your locker. Just kind of, what is your take right now, your mood about the situation?
Just didn't play well enough to win, so give them credit. They played good, but certainly better than we did.
You guys came out strong. You had 10 points your first 2 drives. How much harder is it because you had the lead, because you had control of this game even in the second half?
You just come up short. I don't think it feels good whether you're, first half, second half, So we just have to play better, certainly on offense.
Can you pinpoint any of the issues in the red zone?
I know, yeah. We're just not getting the ball in. I don't know. Yeah, just struggling to get in the end zone.
Do you feel like there's any similarities between the last 3 games in terms of the offense struggling?
I think we've struggled pretty much at everything. We just struggle in the red area, struggle in third down, struggle in the run game, 2-point plays, short yardage, backed up, start the first quarter, start of the third quarter. Not very good offensive football.
Mike Evans made more to say out loud. The season isn't over. It's important not to panic. With 10 days before you get a chance to write this, how hard is it not to dwell on this and to get to the next week and a half to the Rams game?
Again, I don't think anyone feels good. We're lost 4 or 5, so not where we want to be, but we haven't earned it, and we got to go. We got to go earn it. You got to go earn it. You got to go fight hard, and you got to go. Figure out how to win games.
Could these 10 days be coming at the perfect time for this team right now?
I don't. Whenever we play. Whether it was tonight, whether it was Sunday. We got to win. So I don't know. Break, no break. It's just. I think we just all frustrated. We're not getting the job done.
As far as football frustrations that you've gone through, where does this rank, or how does it compare?
Losing. We're playing to win, so. Losing is no fun for any of us. We put a lot into it, and we're just coming up short.
How frustrating is it to see a guy like Shaq Barrett, who means so much to this team and this defense, leave the game with injury, and then to see them score 3 touchdowns after that?
Shaq's a great player for us. I hope he's okay. I don't know what it is. So, we've got to get some guys back and see if we can, get a little healthier and perform a little bit better.
Tom, how do you think Julio looked out there? First game since week 4, first contribution since week 1. How do you feel the chemistry was with him?
Yeah, I think it's going to be important for all of us to practice hard together and get some work in, and hopefully he can stay out there and we can do that. But obviously love having him out there and does a good job for us.
Tom, how will you use this break? How will you use this break now before you guys have to be back?
Just to try to figure out, what we need to do better. Things that have worked, things that haven't worked, and, figure if we can play more consistently, score more points, put ourselves in a better position to win.
What's the biggest?
Halfway through the season, it seems like it's been a consistent problem all year long of the issues that it's holding back this team. Do you feel that there's still enough time to turn this thing around? Is there a quick fix?
We've got to go earn it. We've got to go, I don't think you can, erase what happened the last 8 weeks. We got to we got to dig deep, see what we're all about, come to work, try to improve, and like I said, give ourselves a better chance to win.
Top times like this, leadership is obviously critical.
Yep.
Your leadership has always been a key to your team's winning. What message do you send to your team before you take the break? What are you trying to tell the guys? Will you tell the guys?
Yeah, we talk a lot. I mean, we talk a lot, and a lot of those conversations are private, for us. But we're just trying to encourage one another and be positive and see if we can, ultimately it comes down to how we execute in critical moments and the things we have to do to put ourselves in a position to win.
Tom, you've always told us that it's not so much about the opponent, it's about what you guys do.
Yep.
The fact that where you are, do you think it might be time to maybe tweak and change a few things on the offense?
I think we're going to try to figure out everything. I think we're going to try to, again, evaluate. We have a little extra time to see kind of exactly what we're doing and how we can do better moving forward. So thank you guys.
So there you go. Tom Brady meeting with the media. And look, I don't want to try and read too much into this, but there were not a lot of answers there for how to fix this. And maybe, look, maybe it's just I'm used to Aaron Rodgers blathering on and, the 20-minute press conference where he won't shut up and he's throwing teammates under the bus and all these different things. Maybe I'm just used to that at this point. But man, that did not sound like a quarterback who had much in the way of answers as it relates to how to fix this. It just doesn't. I mean, he just kept repeating the same thing over and over. We got to do better. We got to do better. We have to practice. We got to do better. And this is, yeah. No, I don't think there is. And I think the realization is starting to set in. And one of the reporters at the beginning of the press conference, I don't know how well people could hear the questions. I had it jacked up as loud as I could. But Kyle Berger, who was covering the game for ABC Action News in Tampa, was quoted on Twitter saying the following: Tom Brady was visibly upset in the locker room postgame, slouched over in his chair, his hands over his face for several minutes before taking off his pads. He was chatting some with Blaine Gabbert. Listen, he's taking this hard right now, and as he should. I mean, look, nobody wants to end their career the way that Tom Brady's on the verge of going out. There is no way he envisioned it could possibly be this bad. Yeah, I mean, it looks bad, and he's got 10 days to sort of figure it out. But I've got to wonder in the back of my mind if he's looking for an exit ramp right now. If he's just trying to find some graceful way to bow out of this, because I think both of his options are bad at this point, and maybe that leads him to stay and finish out the season, because there is no good option. If he retires midseason, there will be a large segment of the football fan population, the media, that's going to say he bailed when times got tough. What an inglorious ending. If he goes out as a 5-12 quarterback or a 6-11 quarterback playing meaningless games in December, he's also going to get hammered as, Willie Mays at the end of his career, dropping fly balls in center field for the Mets. It's going to be the same. It's no matter what. There's no good options for him here. Everything that he faces right now is making the best of a bad situation. Plain and simple. There's nothing good that can come of what sits in front of Tom Brady, except the long shot, which is they suddenly turn it around. And here's the thing about that. It probably if he decides to stay for the entire year, that's the only reason. And that's the only option to walk away with some sort of dignity. You're still going to be remembered as the GOAT, 3, 4, 5 years from now. But this one's gonna this sort of exit from the biggest stage. This is gonna hurt. I'm not saying it's a legacy killer. He's still going to be considered the greatest of all time. He's got a zillion Super Bowl rings. Nobody is saying that you can take that away. But at the same time, even if you're Tom Brady, you know what you're remembered for? What you did last. What have you done for me lately? And this is how he's going to be remembered if this is, what we've seen through the first 8 games of the season carries out through the rest of the year. I mean, they're on pace to win 6 games. They're on pace to be a 6-11 football team right now. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Their schedule going down the rest of the year, there's no gimmies on that thing. I mean, I'll give it to you again real quick. The Buccaneers the rest of the way, home for the Rams, home for the Seahawks. Let's say they split the two. Okay, we'll say they split the two. They're so instead of 3-5, they'll be 4-6. At the Browns, toss up. It's a toss up game. I'll say they lose on the road, 4-7. If I give them a win at home against the Saints, 5-7. At the Niners, that's a loss, 5-8. Home for the Bengals, I'll give them a loss there, 5-9. At the Cardinals, that's a toss-up. I mean, 6. I mean, like I said, they're a 6 or 7 win team. At best, they're going to probably be 7-10, playing the way they're playing right now. I don't think it's going to. I really don't. I don't know. I think anything. Well, I think it's a great question. I think anything short of a playoff berth is a disappointment. They've got to make the playoffs. It doesn't matter how. Just get in. Just get in, and then anything could happen. We know the NFC is a crapshoot. If they could just get in. Here's what I think is interesting. If they were right now in, say, the NFC North or the NFC East, I think Brady's retiring. They'd be dead and buried. They'd be dead and buried if they were in the East or the North. The fact that I think the only thing that keeps him from retiring is the fact that division is still up for grabs. If they had no shot to win that division, because let's be honest, a wild card is probably not coming out of that division. Because here's what you got to remember. Eagles 6-0, Giants 6-1, Cowboys 5-2. 3 playoff teams are right there. So you only got 1 wild card spot left between the Seahawks, Rams, 49ers, Cardinals, Falcons, Buccaneers, Panthers, Saints, Vikings, Packers. I mean, who's the team most likely out of all that bunch? Who's the team that's most likely? Heck, even the Commanders right now are still in the mix for a wild card spot at 3-4. Who's most likely to turn it around? Are you going to say it's this Buccaneers team? I think the Falcons, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I think the Falcons are going to win the NFC South. I really do. They've played some of the most consistent football this year. This is crazy. This is just absolutely bonkers. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Hit us up on Twitter as well, at the back page if you got a thought, on Twitter, at the back page. Matt Mayoko coming up in 15 minutes from NBC Sports Bay Area on the 49ers. We'll get into it with him. More to do as we continue on the Cash In at SportsMap Radio. Yeah, I think the mediocrity around the league is the only thing keeping him around. It's a great question. Yeah. Yeah, and it's gonna get really bad. They're gonna lose by 21 on Sunday night. They're gonna lose by 3 touchdowns. Yeah. And I think Buffalo's going to make an example out of them. It's a good question. I think it's if you ask me, yeah, if Tampa Bay could just get a little healthier, they could win the division. I just don't know, though. I just don't know how you do it if they can't get healthy. Yeah, Adam Schefter tweeted out, Shaq Barrett undergoing an MRI on his Achilles on Friday, and according to one source, there's a real concern he may have torn it. Ugh. Going to be out for a while anyway, yeah. Eesh. Hey. I lost by friggin' 1 bucket. Yeah. Yep, Draymond Green hit a shot with 40 seconds left in regulation. Garbage bucket. See, you should have saved that for the air. That's why they say don't do the show off the air. Best advice I ever got when I was first starting to do talk radio and sports radio. Don't do the show in the green room. Cool. Well, all good things come to an end. My run on live betting included. We told you 2:30. Well, listen, when I'm right, I'm going to sing it from the mountaintop. When I'm wrong, I gotta own it too. 231.5 was our prognostication. Under 231.5 at halftime of that Golden State Warriors game tonight. Unfortunately, we got one wrong. I hope you didn't lose the mortgage. Yeah, yes, it did. Golden State 123, Miami 110. 233 makes us a loser. That's when we need the Price is Right sound effect where it goes boom, 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 wow. That's what we need. Yeah, I think we need that. We said 231.5 under. It finished at 233. A Draymond, if you're wondering, the backbreaker, 40 seconds left in the fourth of a blowout game. Draymond Green, a bucket to stick the dagger in our under hopes. Bad beat? Yeah, maybe. Thank you. Adam Schefter, ESPN senior writer on the Shaq Barrett injury post-game of the Bucks loss to the Ravens tonight, says linebacker Shaq Barrett is undergoing an MRI on his Achilles on Friday, and according to one source, there is real concern he may have torn it. So it's just going from bad to worse at this point for the Buccaneers. And you know what? Lost in all of this. And look, there are times I'm going to get on Lamar Jackson, and I think the last 3 games leading up to this one, he had not played particularly well for a guy that wants the moon and stars from the Ravens organization. He played well tonight. It could have gone badly for them when in the first half they failed on a 4th and 2 from about the 10-yard line and gave the football back to Tampa Bay, trailing 10-3. Then they missed a field goal at the half, so they went into the half trailing 10-3. But Lamar Jackson tonight acquitted himself nicely. He was 27 of 38 for 238, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 9 carries, 43 yards. Played well. Yes, thank you. Yep, and I'll tell you what, though. They got some unlikely contributions from Isaiah Likely. Thank you. I'll be here all night. The rookie played outstanding in Mark Andrews' stead. Nah, come on. I think we should all take a second, take a breath, acknowledge it, soak it in, marinate in it. Isaiah Likely, 6 for 77 and a touchdown, the game of his life tonight. So keep an eye on him if Andrews has to miss any sort of extended time. Devin Duvernay had a touchdown run in this game, and the Ravens hang on to beat the Buccaneers 27-22. They go to 5-3 on the year. And look, I know you know as Bill Parcells likes to say, you are what your record says. So it says they're 5-3. They could easily be 8-0 right now. They blew 3 double-digit fourth quarter leads this year. Oh, it's brutal. Yeah, 17 or 24, I forget, but they were up by a lot. It was 3 scores. So the Ravens to 5-3. So very quietly, when you start to look, and now we start doing this analysis of who's got what record, but what records are legit. Not all records are created equal. I still don't buy the Jets at 5-2. Vegas still doesn't buy the Jets at 5-2. I think they're still an underdog this weekend. Against a Patriots team that's 3-4. So you start to soak it all in. And Baltimore at 5-3 is something to be reckoned with. Their defense is still. I'm still not sold on them defensively, which is shocking because I thought that was the one thing. And they were without Calais Campbell tonight. One of the things that I thought would separate this team from some of the other potential contenders in the league was their defense, and they haven't been that good defensively, but solid offensively. And tonight, second half, they really asserted themselves and acquitted themselves nicely. So 5-3 for them. Bengals at 4-3. Those two teams have really separated themselves now in the AFC North. And you get to a point now where if Cleveland loses this weekend, you got to wonder if they deal Kareem Hunt. Because then at that point, when you look at the rest of the conference, you start shaping up, how does the wild card start to shape up? Look at the AFC as a whole right now. Buffalo, Kansas City, and Tennessee are your division leaders, along with, obviously, Baltimore. But then you got the Jets at 5-2. That's one wild card team. Miami's going to be in the mix. The Chargers, the Bengals, the Colts. All of a sudden, you look at Cleveland at 2-5. I don't know how you don't deal Kareem Hunt before next Tuesday. If you lose this week and you're Cleveland, and you're staring at 2-6 with the Dolphins on the road next and then at the Bills, your season's over. And here's the other thing about that. You don't have Deshaun Watson until what, week 12, week 13? Yeah. Week 13 against the Texans is when you're getting him back. The ship will have already sunk on this season. I mean, it's gone. The horse is out of the barn. Any other metaphors I can come up with? Ship is sunk, metaphor, horse is out of the barn. But I mean, they got the Bengals this week. Let's say they manage a win. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't think they're going to win, but no Jamar Chase. I mean, that's that. But let's just say they're at home against a division rival. I'm going to say they get a win. Okay? Because let's also say this about the Browns. 31-30 loss to the Jets, 23-20 loss at the Falcons, 30-28 loss against the Chargers, 23-20 loss against the Ravens. They've lost 4 of their games by a combined 10 points. I mean, the Browns are right there. And Jacoby Brissett has actually played pretty well. We'll come back with Matt Mayoko, talk some Niners football with him from NBC Sports Bay Area next on the Cash In SportsMap Radio. All right, I got the interview on my side. Talk to you in 20. I think for the podcast, by the way, we should probably do the segment where I played the Brady post-game sound and then reacted to it on the other side. I think that's a really good idea. Look who's staring at me. He knows what time it is. No stupid. We roll along on this. We roll along on this Thursday edition of the Cash In SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. The phone number, as always, if you want to be involved in the show, 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. And, of course, you can hit me up on Twitter at The Back Page. We'll get back to the talk, but I want to get into the football and specifically talk a little bit about what's going on with the 49ers right now. I was all high on them about 2.5 weeks ago when I was watching this team defensively, and I said, even with Jimmy Garoppolo, I think they could win a Super Bowl because this defense was that good. And now after the last 2 weeks, I'm scratching my head going, man, did I make a mistake? Or did I? Let's bring in Matt Mayoko, covers the 49ers for NBC Sports Bay Area, joins us here on the program. Matt, I looked at this defense as Super Bowl caliber through the first 5 weeks of the season. Where is it defensively right now, and what's happened the last 2 weeks?
Well, that's a great question, Jason. Well, I would say this: the first 5 weeks of the season, they played some pretty bad defenses. I'm sorry, pretty bad offenses. And then last week, of course, they played the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes and company really got sliced and diced them up. But they've had some injuries. There's kind of a work in progress with a lot of different defensive linemen out there. They lost Emmanuel Mosley, very good cornerback for the season. So that's a great question. I don't know what to make of them because of all the moving parts. And they did a pretty good number on the Rams several weeks ago. So we'll see if they're able to duplicate that performance, because the 49ers, really, this is a big game for them. Of course it is. And it's a big game for the Rams, too. So I still think the 49ers defense is capable of being a championship-level defense. So I think overriding all of that, though, is the offense. They haven't produced much. They haven't scored a lot of points. But then again, you look around the NFL, and there are so many offensive teams that are underperforming. So I think the 49ers kind of fall into that big bucket of the NFL teams where here we are 7 games into the season, and you really don't know what they're all about.
What is the loss of Arik Armstead meant to this team, and what's the latest on him with the foot injury?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play this week against the Rams. The hope and expectation is that he'll be available after the bye week. But that's big because the 49ers defensive line is very good. But when you look at it, they have Nick Bosa, who's an absolute star. And we're talking a guy who's probably on the short list of Defensive Player of the Year candidates. And then a step below Nick Bosa is Arik Armstead. But then many steps below that are the rest of the guys. And what has made the 49ers successful with their defensive line is that players 3 through 10 are about the same. And so you don't lose much when you start rotating guys in and you're bringing in fresh bodies and all of that. But Armstead is a guy that is very good against the run, and he brings some very good pass rush from the inside as well. So losing him is a big issue with the 49ers.
Matt Mayoko's covered the 49ers for, 25-plus years. NBC Sports Bay Area joins us here on the Cash-In SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. One more on the defense before I switch it over to the offensive side, maybe a little coaching talk too. But back to on the defensive side, I know Jason Verrett has been activated from the PUP list, the corner. What is D'Amico Ryan saying on the idea of him starting this weekend and how much he can contribute and help out here?
Well, I just don't know that he's ready. They opened that 21-day window for him 3 weeks ago, so they had to make a move on Wednesday, whether it was activating him to the 53-man, keeping him on physically unable to perform for the rest of the season, or releasing him. And so they opted to activate him. I think that this is a move for down the road. I don't think he's ready to play yet, but as I mentioned, they lost Emmanuel Mosley for the season with an ACL tear. Of all the guys on their team, and they like some of those young guys, but none of those young guys at this point, guys like Sam Womack, Diamador Lenore, and Ambry Thomas, none of those guys bring what Mosley brings to the table. The only guy that has the chance to make that position stronger, I think, is a healthy Jason Verrett. So the issue, of course, throughout Jason Verrett's career is that he hasn't been healthy. It's been really difficult for him to get on the field and stay on the field. So I think this was a move that if he can get his way onto the field and stay healthy, 49ers are going to benefit immensely from that. But I don't think he's ready to make a contribution this coming week. Perhaps after the bye, the 49ers play the Rams this week, and then the bye, and then they have their stretch run. But I just don't think he's in a position right now to make a contribution immediately.
Give me a sense for what the Christian McCaffrey move did inside this locker room. I know I hit you up on the night of the trade, and you're like, yeah, right. Like, I'm going to be able to talk to you. And I don't blame you. I had to try, though. But we're sitting there on the radio talking about it, and I'm like, God, who can I get to talk about McCaffrey? So give me a sense for what the McCaffrey move did inside the locker room in terms of kind of buoying the spirits of this team. Just to, in terms of confidence.
Yeah. No, what it did was, in the morning after this trade happened, it happened, pretty late in the evening on a Thursday. The next morning, before McCaffrey had even arrived, both John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan addressed the team, and their overriding point was this should be read by you guys in the locker room as a vote of confidence for what you're capable of doing, because we don't make this trade unless we feel that the pieces are here to win and that Christian McCaffrey can give us another boost and push us over the top. So from that standpoint, I think it did give the locker room a nice little boost of confidence and a little jolt of, okay, it's on. Now, of course, 2 days later, they went out and didn't play very well against Kansas City. But I think that there was confidence that the pieces were in place for this team to contend, and now I think there's more of a sense of that the team has the ability, if they can put it all together, to make it deep into the playoffs. Now, they haven't shown that yet, but I think that the players recognize that you don't give up 4 draft picks and commit the kind of money that Christian McCaffrey has on his contract in future seasons unless you feel like this is a championship caliber roster.
Well, they obviously did give up a lot to get Christian McCaffrey. With that said, the trade deadline is next week. Is this the last deal that this team is making, or is there still wiggle room, something else they can give up potentially if they feel the need to upgrade, and where would that be?
Yeah, I do think that this is the last move because, they've already gave up their first-round pick in that trade, 2021 NFL draft for Trey Lance, and then they gave up a second, a third, a fourth, and then next year a fifth. But they do have 2 third-round compensatory picks available in this 2023 draft, but I just don't sense that they're in a position right now to make another trade. I think that the team they have is the team they're gonna go with, and the one guy that I would say that if he's healthy and can make a contribution, who can give them a lift in addition to Christian McCaffrey, would be a healthy Jason Brett, but that remains to be seen.
Talking with Matt Mayoko, NBC Sports Bay Area, giving us some time on the 49ers. They get set to take on the Rams this week, and it's just wild. I'm looking up and down, the NFL standings. It's really a season unlike any other with all the 3-4, 4-3 mishmash of teams. You've got 3 or 4 teams that you'd view as the top of the league, and then you've just got everybody else. And the NFC in particular, I know everybody, loves what the Eagles are doing at 6-0, but there has to be a feeling that even with Philadelphia off to the start they are, I don't think anybody views them as inevitable by any stretch. And even at this 3-4 start, I have to imagine spirits are still relatively high surrounding this team. Am I wrong?
Jason, I would think that almost every team in the NFC probably feels that same way. As you kind of outlined there, you get into the playoffs, and I think it's going to be any teams, it's going to be wide open. And I just don't know that whenever the Eagles, let's assume that they finish the deal and they get home field advantage in the number 1 seed, I don't know that, the winner of the 7-2 game, and let's just say the 7 seed beats the 2 seed, I don't know that the 7 seed will be looked at as a huge underdog. So the 49ers do have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. They have talent, they have among the highest paid players at almost every level of their team, whether it's running back or wide receiver or tight end or offensive line or defensive line, linebacker, defensive back, you name it. 49ers have to feel good ultimately about what they're capable of doing. Their issue is they just haven't shown it yet, that they haven't had much consistency at all. But again, you look around the NFC in particular, and other than the Eagles, I guess you could say the Giants and maybe the Vikings, I mean, what team has shown that consistency? So it's 10 games left in the season. This is a big one coming up against the Rams. For the Rams, it would move them to 4-3. It would move the 49ers to 3-5 if they lose. But if the 49ers win, they're at 500, and they would hold the tiebreaker over the Rams because they would have swept the season series. So to me, it's just wide open at this point in the season.
Let me get you out with one on Jimmy Garoppolo. The shock factor is obviously worn off with the aspect of him now being the starter for this team with Trey Lance done for the year. Where's the relationship right now between Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan, the way of managing this offense in this bizarre marriage?
Yeah, it is bizarre. I mean, I would say it is what it's always been. In order for Garoppolo to return to the team, it had to be okay with him, and it had to be okay with Kyle Shanahan. So Kyle Shanahan is, Jimmy knows that he wasn't their first choice. From the moment they made that trade to move up to number 3 overall in the 2021 draft, he knew that his time was numbered, and he knew that Kyle Shanahan had his eyes on somebody else. And Jimmy pushed his ego to the side and sucked it up last year, even though Trey Lance was the backup. Everybody knew that eventually Trey Lance would be the starter. And then once the season ended, the 49ers made that official, and they're moving on from Garoppolo. Trey Lance is the starter. But then, for a lot of different reasons, certainly the big one being that he had to have that surgery on his shoulder, 49ers weren't able to trade him. And ultimately, Jimmy Garoppolo decided that the best spot for him to further his career and set himself up for next season was to return to the 49ers. And the 49ers decided that the best thing for them was to ask Jimmy Garoppolo to take a pay cut. He accepted it, and now he was back as the backup. And, less than a game and a half into this season, the 49ers are putting all their eggs into the Jimmy Garoppolo basket again. So it's a symbiotic relationship. The more Garoppolo wins, the better it's for the 49ers, and the better it is for Garoppolo's career. So Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo kind of need each other at this point.
Well, you mentioned that, and I only got 30 seconds here, but it made me think. Shanahan's under contract through 2025. They go and invest a ton to go and get Christian McCaffrey. If this thing goes really south, is Shanahan at risk?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, not for the short term. There's so much that goes into a coach being on the hot seat, and he is still seen as a very smart football mind. The locker room's together. I think there's a better chance Kyle Shanahan will end his tenure with the 49ers as the longest running coach in 49ers history. I think that he's here for the long haul.
Great stuff. Matt Mayoko, NBC Sports Bay Area on the Niners. I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
All right, Jason. Always my pleasure.
We'll wrap up the hour next. Wish I had you 2 days a week. For those of you watching on the stream, thank you for checking us out tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night, Friday edition of the show, Paige's Picks, all that good stuff. Till then, have yourselves a great night. I'll see you later.